Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, the good old people of the tube. Hope you are today and feeling grand as well in your world. Welcome to another close-up video. Today I'm going to show you my 1960s Mexican reissue up close and personal. I really like how the close-up of the 62 video came out. So I thought I would. I'm also going to do one of these for the Oswald Strat. But I'm going to do the Oswald on its anniversary. Which is in February. So that'll be in February. But I thought I'd do a close-up on my white 60s Mexican reissue, because this is a guitar that, this is going to probably sound a bit strange, but regardless of what guitars come and go in my life, this will always be my number one. This is a guitar I've put most hours in on learning, and this is the guitar that's been with me through everything and been there all the time. And if it weren't for this guitar, I'm not sure I would be here. And that's a bold statement, but it's a very, very true one as far as I'm concerned. It really, this guitar is that meaningful for me, and this is one of those guitars that whatever happens in life, this will be with me. One way or another, and I've got a massive emotional attachment to this guitar, and I love it to bits. So I thought I would just show you around it close up and tell you some of the stories about some of the wear on it, because none of this guitar is relic. This is all, you know, this is all aged through time. I actually bought this guitar in 2004. Around March 2004, I bought this guitar. It was made in 2002. It was made April 2002, and I started playing guitar in May 2002. So to me, that's meant to be. That's two things coming together. That's what that is. So yeah, I mean, so I thought I'd just show you around it, tell you some of the stories about the wear, show you some of the damage and some of the things it sustained over time. It has been refretted twice already in its life, but electrics are stock, tremolo's stock. Finish, everything about it is stock, machine heads. I say the only thing I've done to it, like I say, is have it refretted. Is there anything else? Nope. If I come up with any more stories as we do close-ups, I will tell them. But as I say, so let's get to it. We'll start the headstock again and move on down, and I'll tell you. So I say some of the dints and dents and when they were done and what was going on at the time. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and let's get to it. Okay, so let's get to close-ups. I actually want to do something I actually forgot to do in the close-up of the 62. I wanted to show you a difference in headstock. So this is the 1962 Strat, and this is my 60s reissue. And you can kind of see it. I mean, like the round part of the headstock is so much bigger on the reissue, and it's also darker. The headstock on my 60s reissue is actually really faded out, and I'll show you how much in a bit. But it's really kind of like browning off almost, the headstock is, and you can see how much smaller the original headstocks are to the big ones. I mean, I can get kind of over the top, you might be able to see they actually measure differently as well. So original headstocks are a lot smaller than the newer ones, including reissues. They haven't quite got the sizes right. But I thought I'd show you how to start with. So I say that's an original Strat 62, and that's my reissue. But anyway, let's move this out of the way and get on with this one. Okay, so starting at the headstock, it's really kind of like dark. Like I say, it's almost kind of like browned off. It's almost like it's been tea stained. And it wasn't originally like this dark. It's done that over years of playing it. I'm getting close on the logo quick. Okie dokie, so close up of the headstock of the 60s reissue. You got the 60s decal, it does say synchronized tremolo, doesn't have all the pending numbers under it like the 62 does. Original string tree there, kind of Clouson copy machine heads here, they're not actually branded though. You get your contour body decal there. I've got some dints and dents on the headstock, as hopefully you can kind of see. I don't know why it's like they're paint. I don't really know why. I don't know when that happened. There's quite a few dints and dents on this guitar, but I actually don't know where they came from. But there is one I'll tell you about in a sec. But I say this is the headstock. I say it is a lot bigger than the 62, but it's still very, very kind of very small. It's a lot thicker, kind of width-wise. Oh, the sun's coming out to help. But yeah, I say the logo hasn't kind of darkened off or anything, and you can't really. You have to look really in the right light to see the decal under the lacquer. It's under a lot of lacquer, and I'll show you more of that in a bit when I get down to the back of the neck. But like I say, there's the usual dints and dents. Like I say, there's paint on the headstock. I don't really know why. There's a dent up here. Where is it? Yeah, this dent here on the headstock was caused by me when I was playing in Gimbal. We were playing at this little pub, and I can't remember where it was. I seem to remember it was the end of the gig, and I swung the guitar up, and it smacked my mic stand, and that's what that dent's from. So that's like that dent is from like 2007. So that's the story of that dent. And if you look at the machine heads, if I put it back down here quick. Hopefully you can kind of see the high E string one is bent inwards, and that again happened at a Gimbal gig. What happened was we got to the last song of there's the camera. We got to the last song of the last set we did, and I was doing this weird kind of like balancing act with this guitar. Just had it kind of balancing on my hand, a lot like Jaco Pastorius would do with his bass, but not as cool. And it fell on its head, like just smacked right down to the stage on its head, and bent this machine head. It is actually bent, like literally, it touched this one, but I bent it back, but it is wonky, but that's why that's bent over, and I really like that. And I say these were like absolutely like shiny as anything when I first got this guitar, obviously, but I say over the years, I say this guitar I've had so many hours of playing on this. And I had the machine heads. I love these style of machine heads. The fact that you don't have a bit of string sticking out to stab you. I've always loved these style of Clouson machine heads. I think they're just the nicest and the best. I really love them. And I love the fact that when you go to kind of like bend behind a nut like here or there, you don't get stabbed in the finger by a rogue string, so to say. So yeah, that's the headstock. Let me show you the back quick. Okie dokie. So back of the headstock here, you can see there's like a the volute there that isn't there on the original 62. Serial number made in Mexico. Got my initials stamped in the back of the headstock. This little stamp of Jimmy I've had on here for absolutely years, and originally you can kind of see it was there. But about a couple of weeks ago, I didn't like the fact it was covering up the serial number. It kind of covered most of the serial number. I didn't really like that, so I've moved it. But you can see that's the original colour of a headstock. You can see how much it's darkened off over the years. So I moved Jimmy to the top half of the headstock instead of down here, and say now I can get to the serial number as well. And I thought, if anybody ever dares steal this from me, which it'd be like a taken moment, I will find you and I will kill you. Be able to get to the serial number a lot easier because it won't be under a sticker of Jimi Hendrix. So Jimmy's been moved, but I say you can see it on this square where he originally was. Close up with machine heads now. They're not branded. They're just you can really see how bent the high E string tuning the key is there. It's really kind of like arched over to the right. But I say they're not branded or anything. They're just in the style of those old vintage Clouson machine heads, and I love them to bits. And this is the first guitar I got. I had a massive affinity to getting a guitar with these kind of machine heads when I bought this. I just wanted a guitar with these machine heads so badly, and it sounds really weird, but and when I did, I was like, yeah. And literally, like I said, these are my favourite machine heads. I just love them all, the way they look. I just love the way the fact that, like I say, there's no string sticking out and stabbing you. There's my initials stamped into the headstock there, into the wood. Like you can really see where Jimmy used to be there. Serial number again. So yeah, that's the headstock. Let's move on to the neck now. We'll start with the back of the neck. Okay, so for the longest time, I had finish on the back of the neck of this guitar. It was lacquered, and you can see it's still here, and it's still at the top. And I stripped it off maybe about 2 years ago now, because I had a yellow Strat that had a lacquered neck, and I took the finish off that, And immediately that guitar became like 10 times nicer to play. It was smoother. Your hand doesn't get stuck when it gets sweaty. It just felt better. I don't know. I don't know if I could say I felt more connected to the guitar or not, but it just felt better not having lacquer on. So the next thing I did immediately, kind of pretty much after, I actually did a gig with the yellow Strat where I played it more than this one because I was kind of getting annoyed at how sticky the neck was on this when my hand swayed. So I played the yellow Strat, and immediately the day after, I stripped the lacquer off this off my white Strat down to the wood, and immediately it just felt even more like heaven. Because this guitar is just like, you know, one of the ultimate guitars for me. But what I did to get the lacquer off, because it was so thick, and what I'm going to try and do, I'll do a close-up in a minute up here and hopefully be able to see it. But what I did to get the lacquer off was I actually scraped it with a knife. So kind of like I put the guitar neck down and just like scraped up until I reached the wood and just basically removed all the lacquer with a knife, just scraped it all off, and then sanded it smooth. But let me get really close up here. Not 100% sure how well the camera is going to pick that up, but hopefully you can kind of see it in the light. Maybe that it was. I mean, it's fairly thick lacquer on the neck. It took a long time to get it all off and down to the wood, but like I say, it was so worth doing. And I've done this. The only guitar I haven't done this to now is my Squier Jaguar and the 62, because the Jag actually doesn't really it is not very sticky. Like the lacquer on the back of the Jag neck isn't very sticky, even when you get a sweaty hand. So I'm not, and I like the way that feels. And the 62, because it's been refinished, I don't really want to be scraping the neck on that. So, but I did it on this guitar, and it just became so much nicer. And I'll say, going down the neck, it's not like the 62's neck at all. It's very, very thin. Let me. Okay, so I hope you can kind of see this. If I go down the neck, it doesn't kind of like fatten out like the 62 did. Kind of does a little bit, but not really. It kind of gets a little bit bigger towards the back, and then you get the volute at the bottom end going into the neck joint. But it's not anything like the 62's neck at all. It feels totally different. It's very, very comfortable neck go. This is easily one of the most comfortable Strat necks I have. By far. It's just absolutely gorgeous, and I say removing the lacquer as well does help that no end. So hopefully you can kind of see the thickness of the neck. It's not ridiculously fat at all, especially when you get down to this bottom end on the 62. It's very big here on this reissue. It kind of stays at the same kind of thickness, really. Okie Vidokali. So original nut. Luckily, I didn't have to replace that when I got it refretted. I say this is the second refret. The first refret was terrible. Second refret was amazing. It was done by a local guy called John Lavoie, and he did an amazing job refretting this guitar. He planed the neck. Originally, there was a lot of pitting on the fretboard, which I wasn't overly keen of getting rid of, to be fair with you. And looking back now, I wish he hadn't planed the neck. I mean, I know it helps for refretting, but there was a lot of pitting. It's still kind of there around like the open chord area on this guitar, and that's kind of gone now, and it's kind of annoys me if I think about it too much. But the fretboard is really nice on this guitar. It's very, very dark. The rosewood, well, it's as dark as a reissue can be. The 62 is substantially darker. The rosewood on that, but the rosewood on this is really, really nice, and it's got a lot of hours on this fretboard for me. Absolutely hours and hours and hours of playing and learning on this fretboard. Absolutely. I don't know a day where I haven't really played this guitar, to be honest with you. I really don't. It's just like I say, it's always just going to be my number one. It's got plastic dot inlays. It doesn't have clay ones, but they're really, really cool. They're kind of creamy now. You can't really tell, unfortunately. It's quite bright, but they are kind of creamy, but they're not like the kind of browny off white colour that these 62s are. But nonetheless, still love it. So that's the fretboard. It's pretty straightforward. It is the vintage Radius 7 and whatever it is. I don't really know. But it's the vintage Radius, where it's very, very kind of like, you know, very kind of curved over. I don't know what that was, some kind of like weird devil's claw. But yeah, so it is vintage radius, and I say I've got vintage style frets on as well. They're just a little bit taller than they would usually be, so they are a bit taller. So yeah, that's the neck, that's the fretboard. Like I say, thousands of hours playing this, absolutely thousands of hours. And also, quickly, just before I want to move on to body, I want to show you this as well. The top side of my fretboard here, I've rounded it off, and I'm not sure, I'm guessing it's just from the low E string, just kind of wearing it away, but it's very, very rounded off there, as you can see. So, oh no, there's the truss rod adjustment with the rosewood slab board there. So, yeah, so enough on the neck, that's the headstock. Let's move on to the body now. Okay, so the guitar is actually a lot more cream than it's actually coming out in this on the camera. It's coming out actually really, really white, and it's not actually that white. It's just obviously the light, and you got all this weird discolouring around here. That's coming out really clear. Actually, that's normally quite hard to get on a camera, but luckily that's coming out really clear. I started playing this guitar when you were still allowed to smoke in pubs. And as a result, it started to discolour it quite drastically when you'd play smoky pubs and whatnot. But I say, as soon as that came to a halt, it kind of stopped, kind of discolouring. But it has discoloured a lot over the years, and I'll say it is a lot more cream than it appears to be. I promise you. Say, if you ever get to see it close up, you'll know what I mean. It's not white. It is under the scratch plate, but it's not white really. And I say there's a bit more weird kind of discolouring here. It's very kind of stuck to the edges, so to say. You can really see it's very, very strange, but really, really cool. So let's talk about the scratch plate. The scratch plate's broken there, where else? It's broken on the selector switch, as you can kind of, hopefully you can kind of see. Yep, there we go. On that side, and it's starting to break away from the selector switch screws. Up here we've got a crack. There it's cracked. It's actually warped like they all do around the neck pickup. I'll try and get a picture of that in a minute. And I think there's a crack there. So the scratch plate is basically like, you know, holding on for dear life, but it is slowly breaking apart. Like I say, these bits down here and that bit up there, they're not attached. I've actually just kind of double-sided taped them on so I don't lose them. But actually this bit, that bit, and that bit aren't even attached anymore. They're technically broken off. But I didn't want to lose them, so I just used double-sided tape and stuck them back down. Really nice mint green scratch plate on this one. Very, very close to the 62s. The colour of this one. Sometimes mint green scratch plates can be absolutely over the top, silly green, but this is really, really nice. It's a lot like the original 62, and I'll show you in a sec how close it actually is. Like I say, electrics are all original. Volume, tone, and tone pots are all original. CTS pots, really nice pots. 5-way selector. Original pickups as well. I want to call them Tex-Mex, but I don't know if they actually were back in 2002. I call them Tex-Mex because it's a Mexican-made Fender. So, but I don't know what they are. But either way, I love them to bits. These are some of the best pickups I've ever tried on a Strat, and I just love them. I absolutely love these pickups. These are, like I say, I think I've said it a few times before in videos, but this is the guitar I measure all other guitars by. If I'm buying a guitar, if it doesn't stand up to this, then I don't really want it. It's literally kind of like that. If my setup doesn't sound right, and I plug this in and it sounds right, it's the guitar. But if I plug this in and the amp doesn't sound right, it's the amp. It's never this guitar. It's very, very cool. I know exactly what this guitar sounds like through anything. I have literally played this guitar through so many different amps. I know it in and out. It's just got, because I've had it for such a long time and I've played so much on it, I just know everything about like its tonal qualities, neck, middle, bridge, out of phase, position 2 and 4. As long as I have this guitar, I'm happy to plug into any amp because I know what I can get out of it, so to say. If that makes sense, I don't know if that makes sense. I might just sound really silly, but everything about this guitar is just like, it's just heavenly to me. So, let's get a close up with the pick. Okay, so pickups are all staggered pole piece. You can see the B's really low. Just for a lot like the 62's pickups, the E, A, D, and G strings are very kind of like high. B strings really low, and high E strings really low as well. You got, as I say, you got a cut out and a scratch plate there for the truss rod adjustment, but it's not big enough. You have to take the neck off if you want to adjust the truss rod. There's a middle pickup as well, same thing again, and a bridge pickup. This, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but the screw here is very worn down. I'm not sure how well that'll come across on camera, and the same thing with this screw up here, as this is where I tend to my hand tends to rest, like on the top there and on this screw here, and you can see there's a lot of dirt around the screw. These ones are a lot shinier. That one isn't, and that one definitely isn't. But so they're the pickups. That's where I kind of tend to rest my hand quite a lot. It's mainly my little finger anchoring around that screw. Let's go on to the volume pots quick. I say they used to be gold. The lettering used to be gold. It's gone green now, and it's fairly worn off through the years. Same thing with the tone and that other tone, and you can see all the dirt around the I don't know what you would call it, grip, I suppose, of a volume pot. They're just filthy, and I say you select a switch there. Moving on to tremolo. Tremolo is just a zinc block. It's not a steel block, but I don't want to change anything about this guitar. The saddle's the stamped Fender. I remember thinking that was the coolest thing ever when I first got this guitar. I would spend hours just staring at this guitar, like I still do, and just looking it over and just, you know, seeing this and the other. But these original saddles as well, apart from the the low E, this saddle here is a replacement. When it went for its first refret, the overzealous guitar tech it went to decided to remove the original low E string saddle and bin it, because, you know, why not? I'll take responsibility for somebody else's guitar and just bin all the parts of their guitar. Thanks very much. So for a long time it came back with an unbranded saddle, and it didn't fit. It was 10 times big, and it pushed into the A string saddle, and it was just rubbish. And when I got the Oswald Strat last year, the legend that is Mr. Nick Oswald gave me this saddle, and it went immediately on, and I can't thank him enough for that. It's just another thing to show how generous that man is. So thank you, Nick, for this saddle. And like I say, I will do a close-up of the Oswald Strat on its anniversary. It's 1 year anniversary. But I say, this bridge has seen a lot of use. The tremolo arm itself doesn't screw in anymore. The threads went a long time ago. Like I say, it's a zinc block. That took a bit of elbow grease, I tell you. But I say, yeah, the threads in the block went a long time ago, and I started wrapping tape around the threads on the tremolo arm. As you can see, over the years, it's just accumulated into this big mush of old tape that's kind of like there now, and it basically just like slots in now and never moves unless you really kind of like jiggle it about. But I say, it won't fall out or anything, even though the threads are gone. The tremolo arm's very stable. Brings me to the tremolo arm tip. This broke off a gimbal practice. I took the guitar out of its soft case. I just took it around the soft case just to practice, and the tremolo arm flew out the guitar case and landed right on the tip. Smashed the tip off. I never found the tip, and this is what's left. So and for a long time I had blue and black gaffer tape wrapped around it, but recently I didn't like that, and I took it off and got it back to the original, just the original kind of, it's not white anymore. It was originally. Hopefully you can kind of see if I kind of like shadow it a bit. It's kind of creamy coloured, but like you can see, I had to do a bit of a gluing job where I've glued a bit back on, but I say I never found the tip, and I don't really want to replace it or anything like that. So like I say, I love it to bits. So yeah, that's about it really. Jack socket in. Got some wear here. Got some chips. You can see how thick the lacquer. Well, or isn't in this case. There's no undercoat on this guitar. It's literally just a top coat, and it's very, very thin. It chips. This guitar chips like mad. Absolutely chips like mad. So there's one here. I forget when that was done, but I seem to remember, I think it was an impact kind of thing. I think, if I remember correctly, something hit it there and it chipped off and I lost it, and you can kind of see it, it's kind of cracking back towards the input cup there. Where else we got? This chip is a mega chip. This is the top end of the guitar, so just give you a reference of where we are. What happened here originally was it was a tiny little chip, and it was about that big. And what happened was I had a Shine Telecaster, and I was playing it, and this guitar was just lent up near where I was playing this Telecaster, and the Shine Telecaster just fell off the strap. And the guitar fell out of my hands, and the machine head smashed into this white Strat right there, and chipped this bit of paint right off. And that was like, you can kind of see there, and obviously around the kind of the top end. That's kind of like where it was originally, and over the years it's chipped even more. I was when I was studying music in London at the Institute of Contemporary Music. I got on the bus to go home one night, and this woman bashed into me, like full pelt bashed into me, and took like that much more out of the guitar, and then this bit fell off recently. I actually still have this bit, but I don't really know why I'm keeping it. But it's a bit dirty now. But you can see the wood underneath. It's, like I say, the lacquer isn't... It's actually surprisingly thin, considering some guitars that I've kind of relicked over the years. Like the lacquer on this guitar is very, very thin indeed. And I say it's getting a bit dirty now in there. It's a bit, hopefully that'll come across. It's a bit filthy from where my arm goes. So yeah, let's move on to the back of the guitar. Okay, so starting with a tremolo cavity. This is my preferred way of setting up tremolos. 3 springs like that, missing basically the 2 out in the middle. This blue sticker has been in here since I got the guitar. I have no idea what it was for. It was obviously something in the factory to mark it. I've got some more damage back here where the paint's chipped away. What else have we got? Oh yeah, the first day I got this guitar, the earth wire fell off, and I had to resolder it. And as you can see, I went a bit mental with the solder and just absolutely destroyed it. There's some actual natural wear going on in the cavity here and the outside and stuff, where it's just gradually wearing down, especially there. You can see the zinc block here. It did used to be kind of like silver paint coated, you can kind of see, but that's worn off over the years, more wear there. But this guitar, because it's polyurethane finish, it doesn't really wear like this more than it just chips. So you know, if this was if this guitar was nitrocellulose, I'm not sure how much paint would be left on this thing. I really don't know anymore. Bottom of the guitar shows some massive impacts where it's been slid around the stage and generally just been used and abused. Well, not really abused. I never abused this guitar. I love it too much. But it's all just kind of, you know, just dints and dents it's collected over the years, and they kind of like continue all the way around and all sorts of stuff. There's a lot of these kind of strange kind of cracks forming on the guitar now, and I'm not quite sure what it is. There's more weird discoloration there as well. You can kind of see it's kind of going like yellow almost. It was originally like really bright Olympic white, and I'm going to try and get it into a position in a minute where you can see the actual colour of it, because it's not really as white as it's come across in the picture. Say more impact kind of things up there, and there's another weird crack down here. Strange discoloration on the lower horn here, very, very weird. Okay, neck plate, I've engraved my name on it. Because why not? This guitar's never going to leave me. And I've got my birth date on there as well. 18th of the 5th, 1986, everybody. I'm dating myself now. But because this guitar meant so much to me, I just spent one night with a knife and just like engraved my name into it. So that's done there. There is quite... I say there is buckle rash on this guitar, but it's really, you can kind of see it, but it's very, very hard to see.
polyurethane doesn't show wear really at all. It scratches and it dents and it chips, but it doesn't really wear, if that makes any sense. But yeah, that's it really. Let me try and get into a position where you can kind of see it, like the actual colour of the guitar, not as white as it's coming across. You can see some of the scratches there anyway, from over the years of playing. And I say, there's the blue sticker. It did have something written on it at some point, but can't really tell anymore what it was or what it was for. If anybody knows what these blue stickers are for, please let me know. I'd love to know. So yeah, yes, try and get into a position where you can see. Okay, so I've had to change rooms to get a different kind of lighting, but I thought I'd put this bit of paper on there as contrast. This bit of paper is as white as this guitar was when I got it. I tell no lies there. It was absolutely like snow white. It really was. But then you can kind of because it's there, you can really see the contrast between the colour. Say it's an Olympic white Strat, but it's kind of off coloured over the year, so you can really see how cream it is in comparison to the white paper, which again, that's what it was originally, and it's really gone off colour, especially in the last couple of years. I've noticed it go even more so. And also I want to quickly show you the scratch plate colour as well. So here is the kind of like the mint green scratch plate on my reissue, and there's the mint green on the real one. So that's the 62. And that's my reissue. So they pretty much nailed the colour here, I think anyway. I feel it's really, really close to the mint green of an original scratch plate. So without further ado, that's showing you the headstock, the body, the neck. Let's go and plug it in. Let's do a little outro jam. Sorry everyone, quickly forgot to say one more thing. I just wanted to show you the setup on the guitar as well, just so you know. So I have the strings fairly high. You can see there's quite a lot, there's quite a bit of height in the strings. But you can see I've got that usual setup of they all kind of ramp up. That's actually a bit out of whack. The B string's a bit out of whack actually. It should be there, but this is how I have my strings kind of set up. This is kind of like perspective I do it from. So you can kind of see that's the kind of setup I have. It's not legendary like Steve Ray Vaughan, Rory Gallagher high, but I'd probably say it's more like a medium-esque kind of action on it, to be fair. Yeah, and I like a lot of relief in the neck. I don't know if, no, it's not really picking it up very well, but I like quite a lot of relief in the neck. So the neck curves upwards towards the headstock quite a bit. But yeah, I thought I'd show you that quickly as well. So without further ado, I'll stop jabbering and gibbering. Let's go and plug it in and make some noise. Okie dokie, so I hope you enjoyed this video on a close-up of this guitar. It's, like I say, this is a guitar, this guitar is one of those guitars I've got that just means the absolute world to me. And I say it's always going to be my number one. It's always going to be my kind of like go-to to do certain things with, just because of the amount of time I've had with it and the amount of time I've put in it. And learning and stuff, and it just feels like home. Every time I pick it up, it just feels like home. There was some more bits I wanted to show you close up, but the camera won't pick it up, such as like the scratch plate has warped here above the above the net pickup. Sorry, all the pick scratches as well. If it was nitrocellulose, I'm pretty sure there wouldn't be any finish here. Because it's absolutely scratched in, but I couldn't actually get it to pick up on the camera. I was kind of annoying, to be honest with you. I wish I could have shown you it, but again, this is one of the things that not to kind of like bring up this thing in this kind of video, but this whole subject of like people being anti-relicking, like saying, oh no, you just need to take it out and play it for 10 years and it'll look like an old Strat. It's like, well, I've had this one since 2004 and I've played it every day, and it's been around, the UK with me, gigging, and it still looks nothing like the 62. And the 62 has been refinished, and the 62 is in nitro. And also the Oswald Strat, being nitrocellulose, is wearing in a totally different way to this. And I say, when I do a close-up with the Oswald, you'll see what I mean. But when people say, oh, you just need to get a new guitar and play it in, that's all well and good saying that, but if it's a polyurethane finish, it will not wear, it will chip. And where you see like John Frusciante's Strat or Mike McCready's Strat, here where the plectrum's just eaten into the wood and just ripped the finish off and straight down to the wood, you're not going to get that on a polyurethane
Strat. So for what that's worth. But anyway, I'm gonna play out now with something, and I hope I don't get copyright flagged for it. If something else comes up in a minute, you'll know. I'm not gonna say what it is, and you'll know what it is. But if it isn't, if it's something else that you don't know, I got copyright flagged and I had to redo the video. But it's happened before with this song, but hopefully I'm not gonna say anything about it. I'm just gonna play it, and maybe that might get me through the loophole, so to say. Because I really want to cover this. It's a cover. It's not my song, and a lot of people have asked me to do it. So fingers crossed, I'm gonna do it. But like I say, I really do hope you enjoyed this video on a close-up of my my number one, my white 60s reissue Mexican Strat from 2002. I just love it. It's so played in now. This guitar. It's just like it really is like when people say it's just an extension. But anyway, I'm just short rambling because I'll just keep talking and talking and talking. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you again very soon for another one. Have a great morning, afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much. See you again. Goodbye.